Hey, so it's Wednesday again, and I'm going to be continuing my life painting for the piece Scarlett, and I guess talking about Alchemist book from last time. Hi. Okay, so today I'll be painting this bit right here, sort of like a nook. I'll show you how far it's gotten so far. I've been away for a bit over the weekend, so I haven't really done much. Okay, so alright, here we go. I'll be using a little bit of different shade of green today. I'm gonna be adding in some permanent green light. And not this one. So cobalt green dip, and I used two different kind of Hooker's green. So I used the one from Winsor & Newton and Hooker's green hue from Golden Acrylic colors. They're quite different. Well, they're similar but different. Hooker's green hue from Golden is quite darker and richer, so I use these for darkest tone of the green. I love them. They're one of my go-to paint colors, and I guess I'll be using a little bit of cadmium yellow medium. I think this is an Australian brand, Atelier Interactive. Okay, and the brushes I usually use, it's always thin ones, size 1 brush, and I think these are size 4s. I might need some size 2s today. Okay, cool. Gonna ask someone to hook this on for me. Okay, alright. So I've been away to Luxembourg over the weekend. The borders open for German residents. It's been so amazing. We've never been to Luxembourg before, and it's really beautiful, and everyone's so nice, and kind of wish that we moved over there instead of Cologne. No, we love Cologne as well, but it's different kind of nice. I guess it's a bit, because it's the main city, Luxembourg city, it's a bit more, I don't know, I guess there's a bit more things to do or see. Alright, I will squeeze up some colors right now. Okay, so I'm gonna get out Hooker's green hue. Okay. Should have done this before, but with acrylics they dry really quick, and within about a minute or 30 seconds of having them out on a palette, they start forming this thin layer of dried film, and I don't like to waste paint because they're not cheap. They're expensive, especially the professional grade ones. So I try my best to save my paints and not waste them. It's really funny because I always put very tiny, like a dollop at a time, because of the way I paint. And if there's like any bit left, I always scrape it off as much as I can and to put it back. Okay, so I won't be able to answer any questions, which is a shame because I can't see my screen at the moment. But instead I'll do my storytelling. Okay, I'm just gonna start. Alright. So let me see how this goes. Just gotta do some guideline first. So last time I started talking about the book Alchemist, and the main character Santiago meeting the old man Melchizedek, who says he's king of Salem. Shows his sort of starts off his journey to Egypt pyramid to find this treasure. So now he is in Tangier, which is a port in Morocco, and I read that back in the days, like sort of like in olden days, that was sort of like a gateway to European to get to Africa. It was like a main port, so I'm guessing like in the main port there'll be a lot of thieves and stuff, and I'm a bit worried because Santiago is meant to be only about 18 and he's never left Andalusia, and he literally just sold all his sheep, got a chunk of money on him, naive, and now he's in the most sort of like a tourist populated area. And I mean, I've traveled a fair bit since coming to Europe, and I don't really like going to quite heavily tourist areas because there's a lot of do you know what I mean, like a lot of stuff, like not very enjoyable things, people, and you always have to really be careful with what you've got. Look where you're going. You're gonna trot something that someone's gonna make you pay for. Anyway, so he's in Tangier at a bar that doesn't serve alcohol because, well, they don't do that in Tangier. And he is sort of looking around, getting used to the foreignness, and he's not feeling very comfortable about it. And like in the book, he's coming across quite, that's not the right term, coming across a little bit discriminative. Like he sees these people that sort of kneel down to a priest, and he says something like, "Oh, the way of the infidels." It's like, that's not nice. Yeah. Anyway, so Ariel's speaking Arabic, and he's not feeling very comfortable about it because he doesn't speak the language, and getting all discriminative. And then this young guy appears that sort of kind of looks like Santiago, well, as in like similar height, similar age bracket, and then like the dude speaks Spanish, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And Santiago is like, "Oh wow, he speaks Spanish. He must be a cool guy." So they end up chatting, and Santiago says he needs to get to the pyramids and asks the Spanish-speaking boy to guide him there, and says he's gonna pay him, and pulls out his big wad of cash. Well, like in the book, it's bag full of coins, but let's call it water cash. Pulls out like water cash in this heavily populated area in front of a person he's never met before. And he's like, "There's my money. I have all this money, and I'll pay you if you take me to the pyramids." So, the Spanish-speaking guy, he's like, "Oh, like, there's so many thieves here, so..." Crap, did something. Okay, gotta act fast. Like, if you make mistake with with acrylic, you have to act real fast. I mean, you can always correct it afterwards, but I'm really lazy. I don't want to have to make up that tone again. That's red. It's cadmium red and burnt umber. That means I have to squeeze out more paint, and that's, I don't really want to do that. So hopefully that worked. I just sort of wiped it with my finger. Anyways, so there's a lot of thieves. So I guess when someone says that, you've got to, like, it makes you trust. Oh my god, trust that person more. I mean, I wouldn't, but he did. I mean, good on him for doing whatever he did and coming to Tangier to follow his dream and whatnot. But it was so frustrating reading it. Because I'm one of those quite paranoid person. When I travel, I'm always one of those people like checking things like one too many times, and I'm always very skeptical. I think it's from the way I kind of grew up. I guess I'll be talking about a lot of that too. So like they have the tea, and the guy that's like, oh, that they get up. So they get up, and well, before that, Santiago notices that the bar owner is sort of hovering around them and kind of like listening into what they're talking about, which makes Santiago feel quite uncomfortable. I guess I would too. And then when he gets up to leave, the bar owner gets up in his face and starts saying things in Arabic. Well, he doesn't really understand because he's never been to an Arabic speaking country. So like then Santiago's getting all like, oh, what is this guy on about? Why is he up in my face? And kind of I don't know, gets disgruntled and just goes, oh, I got my trusty Spanish speaking friend, and I think that makes him trust the guy more. They end up going to this busy marketplace. There's so many people there, and Santiago's walking around. It's like, oh, there's so many people here. The guy's got all my money. Like, why does he have all his money? I was like, oh god, that's so annoying. Like, why would you do that? That's stupid. I mean, okay, I don't care if he's 18. I don't care if it's his first time. Like, don't do that. Don't ever do that. Did I do that? I don't know. I think I've always been quite skeptical by nature. But anyway, so he's thinking, oh, what if I lose this guy? He's got all my money. And then he's like, oh, I can keep an eye on him. I'll just make sure I keep an eye on him. And then he sort of like gets distracted for a second because he sees this beautiful saber, and it's all bling bling. And Santiago's like, oh, and when I get my treasure, I'm so going to get that saber. So he starts getting all materialistic about it, and then he turns around, bam, guess what? The guy is gone. Like, his guide has disappeared, and Santiago first can't believe what's happened. I guess that's never happened to him before, so he decides to wait around for the guy in that same spot, hoping or thinking that maybe he's going to come back and find him. And then time goes, and obviously no one comes back. sun goes down and shops close, all the people are gone, and yeah, that's when he starts feeling sorry for himself and starts getting all depressed about it. And I would feel that he's got no money left in his name. Like, all the money that he had is now gone. So, like, not even just the fact that he can't reach his dream, but the fact that well, he doesn't even have money to get back or do anything with his life. I can relate to that a lot, because when I first gave up my career and then moved to London, and I had to start all over again, and pretty much all the money that I had saved had been spent on moving. And for the first time, I didn't have a bank account. I didn't even have anything. I had nothing, and and nothing was working out. I kept feeling like well, before, when I was in Australia, it felt like if I worked really hard, the fruit I was going to get, and I did get. That's how it always sort of worked, because I always did work very hard. I mean, like, didn't matter, it wasn't something that I wanted to do. I mean, like, science. But I still, like, I worked hard when the responsibility was given to me. And when I did, well, I got fruit. Well, I got jobs, I got paid for what I did, graduated, and things did work out for me. And for the, I guess I wouldn't say the first time, but after 10 years of having things worked out, and suddenly, like, I don't know, it just feels like it is robbed from you. Well, I don't know, you get kind of like fucked over, and yeah, meet pretty nasty people, which was quite surprising to me, and that was really hard for me, and I also got very depressed. And unlike Santiago, I did get very how do you call it, like a victim? Yeah, he became a victim, which I completely understand. Like, in a foreign place, having robbed of everything. So yeah, in the book it became quite like, it was hard for me to read, because all the things that he was saying, or being a victim, it sort of reminded me of how my thought pattern was when I first had those failures, and it reminded me of that. So it's kind of cringed through that bit. Anyways, but he did something a lot faster, a lot better than me. So I can't remember, that's before him waking up, before him falling asleep. I think that was before him falling asleep. He reached for his 2 stones that was given to him by Melchizedek, called Urim and Thummim, 2 black and white stones, and he asked the question, am I gonna find my treasure? And the stone said yes. And then he remembered things he talked about with Melchizedek, and what he was there for, and sort of, in a way, it made him feel a lot better. about his situation that he was in. So far I'm sort of reading into it and thinking about what's happened to him, and like a lot of things got in his way, I guess, from the markets. When he got distracted by that amazing fancier saber, he thinks about I think he gets maybe punished about being materialistic, sort of losing his like, I guess, purpose. Instead of thinking about why he's there, he's immediately thinking about what I'm going to do when I get real super rich. I used to do that. I remember I used to do that a lot. Kind of, I mean, besides working hard, like I did have, well, I mean, I was younger, and I used to think stuff about, oh, when I get famous and rich, when I get famous and rich, it's something I tell myself, I'm gonna, like, I think that's just sort of like a silly way to think. Like, once you start focusing on the I guess a possible result, and that shouldn't even be a result, then you sort of lose focus on your purpose. And when you do that, it's easier that you do if when you do come face hardship, like it kind of like crumbles you more, because you think, oh, it's just so one step back from me getting, I don't know, a lot of money. Or I mean, like, if focus should be about what you're doing day to day, I think, but it's sort of hard not to do when you're a human. Well, I think everyone does it, and I used to do it too. And I think that's, like, I put a lot of focus on the money that I used to make, what I used to do, and what I wanted to be, and I'm not even there yet. I was being really impatient, and more and more I became that way, and more and more I became really depressed about my situation. It's hard, like, when you're how old was I when I moved? I think 32 when I had to start all over again. And I mean, that's after making good money for myself for I guess like decades before. And it's sort of an idea that's hard to let go of, like the comfort and what you're used to. Suddenly, like, oh, I had my husband, but I wanted to have my own independence, because I was always used to being that way, and I felt really bad about, I mean, there was a lot of things to get used to. Marriage is also a thing to get used to, especially for someone like me who did everything alone, like looked after for myself, and I never really, I guess, God help everything. If something fucks over, like I'd be the one to deal with, because I didn't have family or anything helping me out. And then suddenly I had to get used to the idea that there was this person who loved me unconditionally, and he was there for me when I was starting over. And that was really hard, because I didn't want to put that burden on him. That's another thing that I struggled. So I ended up being all like, oh, can I buy some letters? Like 90-cent letters. And even that, like, I used to get all victimy about it. Like, oh, I'm 32 years old, and thinking about, feeling bad about spending a few pounds on something small. Anyways, that was just, I'm just sidetracking a bit. So yeah, back to Santiago. So he thinks back to conversation he had with Melchizedek, and he pulls out Roman Thurman. Yeah, we've talked about that. And then somehow he regained his purpose, and he felt a lot better. I was going to talk more about Roman Thurman's story last time because I was a bit curious about it, but I kind of looked into it, and it's the stones used for divination by Hebrew priests. They come in this fancy gold plate the priests wears. Kind of looks like this. So there was a priest. It's like a square plate with a few stones in it, and there's Roman Thurman, and they were used to decide important matters. I think back in the day they used to judge innocence or guilt of a sinner. Urim means light and Thummim means innocent. So yeah, innocent, guilty, and I read that it kind of comes up in the Latter-day Saint movement as well. I've never really read it, so, but I thought it was pretty interesting that Melchizedek had it, what came from his gold plated chest. Then he must be the same character from the Old Testament. Anyways, so in the book, it symbolizes certainty and objective because Melchizedek says only ask objective questions, and I guess it in a way it gives it's less valuable than the opportunity to learn from the world and make your own choices. And Santiago, after using this stone once, I don't think he ever uses it again. Like, he decides not to use it because he promises himself that he would make his own decisions. And I thought that was pretty brave. That is really brave, but for me at the same time, it's brave. And I think it's really cool that he did that, but I made a lot of my own decisions growing up, and a lot of them, I wouldn't call it failed because I don't believe in failure, but it fucked up a lot. I had to make my own decisions since I was 11, and 11-year-olds, I don't think they should really make this important decisions, but I didn't really have anyone to ask, so I had to do bankings, and I had to do a lot of like immigration stuff alone, and obviously I made a lot of mistakes. And I remember at one point I missed my immigration appointment in Australia, so I was on student visa for 13 years till after my university. So every year I had to renew my student visa, and I had to do it by myself. And well, I missed an appointment because I didn't really know how it sort of worked, and I got a letter of visa termination. I had to leave the country. So I had to go through tribunal, and I did it by myself. I think I was 16 when I did it. So I wouldn't get kicked out of the country because I was still living there, going to school. And so from those experiences, and I fucked up a lot of banking and a lot of sort of like a normal day-to-day adult things. And I guess that made me into a person who's like I said, very skeptical and very paranoid in a way. And Oh man, it's not really fun, but it's a way of survival. And then, so for me, when Santiago promises him to himself that he's going to make his own decisions, like I kudos him, but I know I gotta say it's a long way of learning. I'm glad I went through it, but I don't think I want to do it again. Like I've done enough, I reckon, in my life to do that again. So I actually do a lot of I get a card reading a lot whenever I'm in a pickle. I have a good friend, and she's always been really great. So for, sort of like, I think everyone has their gut feeling. So what I've found out with my experience is that like everyone has a gut feeling. It's just a matter of listening to it or not. And growing up, I've always I knew I had a gut feeling about something, but a lot of times, and I think a lot of young people do it, you tend to ignore it. You don't really believe in it because you don't really have a conviction about yourself a lot of times. Like, oh, surely that's not the case. Or maybe you're being stubborn, I guess. Stubbornness and ego really does sort of take you away from the right decision, because sometimes those gut feeling might have to do with something that makes you admit things that you've done that's not quite right. And my biggest lesson in life was to listen to that gut feeling. And once I started listening to it, well, life became a lot easier. And stubbornness and ego really doesn't get you anywhere in life. And I'm sure along the way, Santiago is going to make some mistakes, get into some pickles, but in the end he'll do well. And he obviously does, because it's a book with happy ending. So yeah, next day he wakes up with sort of a fresh outlook in his life. So instead of being a victim, he's chosen to become an adventurer. An adventure in life, which is quite amazing. Such a short period of time. Wish I could have done that. I was a bit more stubborn about my situation. It took Santiago a night, pretty much. And for me, it took 2 years. Yeah, 2 years is a really long time. I mean, it wasn't like a consistent thing every day. Like one day I'd wake up, I was like, okay, I can do this. I can, like, you know, I have real positive outlook on life and how realistic it is. And then you have to be realistic with your expectations. I knew that from my experiences, nothing will work out within a year or two. Usually with new careers, this is from my research and experience, it takes about, I don't know, at least 5 years before you can sort of like, I don't know, like before you can call yourself something, or get to a place of stability. Yeah. And I think that's pretty realistic. So I knew that, but God, it's like I'm a human. It's hard, even knowing. Like some days, like, yes, okay, just wake up, do the work, which I did. Still got up every day, did the work. Even most days I was crying a lot, but I still did what I had to do. Keep my goals for the day. And then some days you just wake up and you just don't want to. You get very resentful about things and regretful, which I did a lot. I mean, I do regret that I did that, but not at the same time. I think it's a progress, so also that part as well. I think it's just good to accept everything, that some days it's going to be harder, some days you're not going to be all Santiago-y and all positive and perfect and whatever. Everyone's different, especially I don't know if this is to do with me being an artist. I don't want to say about other artists, but quite sensing, and my moods do tend to go a bit like, weird. Maybe Santiago is different. Well, he was a chauffeur, so he's a travelist, not an adventurer, as well as a salesperson. Maybe he's quite a bit more logical. I'm more emotion driven person, so I think if I wasn't, maybe things might have been a bit easier for me. But anyway, well, this is who I am. So yeah, he wakes up, Santiago wakes up, sun comes up, he sort of like woken by someone irrelevant, and then he sees a candy vendor and gets free candy first of the day from a candy vendor, and he's starting to now look around his surrounding with more of an open outlook, whereas before he was quite closed-minded and a bit judgy. He was a bit judgy. Yeah, but just overnight. Anyways, so now he understands also with his open eyes there's a universal language with people. He saw some people speaking Arabic, some people speaking Spanish, and they were all able to communicate with each other. Pretty cool. And it was fascinating to him. Yeah, that's a bit on Santiago, and then the next little bit turns into the story of the crystal merchant. So this crystal merchant, he's been in the same business for oh my goodness, I don't really know however long. Well, he's been a crystal merchant for a long time, and Tangier had become over time like not the most popular port. So his business was quite flailing. Basically, he wasn't doing well at all. Wasn't really selling, and but I don't know, he just didn't seem to want to do anything about it. And he saw a boy, so from now on, after that last bit with Santiago having his old epiphany and stuff, Santiago referred to him as a the boy now. And I think in a way that sort of changes his character to be more universal, like a universal and then more of a fable than a personal story of a character, Santiago. I'm not quite sure why he had his name in the first place then, but I think that was to do with his name himself. In the beginning, Santiago, as in like it means, well, the name is associated with pilgrimage, finding a spirit, like a spiritual journey or purpose or something like that, and then that's what sort of is what the book is about. So Crystal Merchant sees this boy who obviously has no money, looking at his crystals, and he wanted to go for lunch, but he's like, you know what, I'll let him look. And then Santiago says that he will clean his crystal because they're quite dusty. So obviously this crystal merchant, not a very good marketer. I don't know why. I mean, like, I'm reading this book. I know it's really beautiful and all, but I can't still help to sort of like relate it to like the modern age scenario. Is like, so he's not a good marketer. Should really clean those crystals. So well, Santiago's like, I mean, if you clean it, like, you'll get more customers, and if I clean it for you, can you get me some lunch? And well, the crystal merchant doesn't really say anything, but lets the boy clean the crystals. And during the time Santiago is there, he has 2 customers that he sells to. So he goes, well, so this crystal merchant, so he's this character that is, I think how they call in literature, foil of Santiago's character is quite opposite. Like, Santiago is someone who wants to make his own decisions in life and I guess make it happen for him, whereas the merchant character is more of a quite passive character that lets life happen to him. So he won't sort of take charge of things, and a little positive like part of this character is that he believes in omens. So by seeing that there was 2 customers while Santiago was cleaning the crystals, he's like, well, you know what, that's an omen, so I've got to offer him a job. So he takes Santiago for lunch and offers him a job. Santiago, and like, even with his like flailing business, I think that's a pretty cool thing that he offers Santiago a job. And I think when he works there, he gets paid pretty well, and that's out of this belief of omen. And during the lunch, so Santiago says, okay, well, I can work for you all night and into the morning if you give me money to get to the pyramids. So, okay, so I'm gonna now, before I move on to the stories, I'm going to move down here this little bit. That's a little doggy character, and that's actually my kneecap. So it's a plant that goes in between it. So from up here, it's the bird of paradise flowers, and the flowers, that's a lot of them in Australia, kind of I don't know, I gotta get into that next time. And from down here, the garden plant called hosta, and I am going to do the hosta plants that has like a green center and white edges. Okay, so I've got 2 reference photos to work from, but not in exactly this design, so I'm gonna have to use my imagination for this. So for the white, but it's not completely white, so I'm going to be using white and teensy like a minuscule micro amount of permanent green light and cadmium yellow medium. And then for the central bit, I will stick to hooker's green and little bit of phthalo green. I think this phthalo green, it has a blue base. There's 2 types, blue base and yellow base. I think I'm gonna use the, oh no, maybe I should use the, yes, wait, not blue base. I think I'll use phthalo green, yellow base. Let's see where that is. Bear with me. Okay, I'll keep talking. So, right, yeah, Santiago's like, I'll work for you all night and into the morning. If you, I found it. If you give me money to go to Egypt, and Crystal Merchant's like, you idiot. Even if you, okay, I'm gonna use this phthalo green, yellow shade. Even if you work for me all year, you would still need to borrow money to get to Egypt, to the pyramids. And then Santiago at that moment feels this crushing down of his dream. Yeah, I know what he's talking about. And then Santiago says, well, he doesn't really, I don't know, show that to the Crystal Merchant, but he says, okay, I'll work for you, and he would want to get money to buy sheeps. So that's gonna take ages too, but still, Crystal Merchant said, well, that's gonna take a long time, but alright, sure. I guess I kind of felt low to be able to experience that. So, well, from then on, I guess things opened up a bit more. I did a lot of international art fairs around Europe, and I was to do a solo exhibition in Bergamo, but then COVID happened, but that's fine because I don't think I was really ready for it, to be honest. Okay, excuse me. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think I was really ready for the. I don't think I was really ready for the solo exhibition. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's just me. I don't really know many artists, unfortunately. But when you're an artist, like you just like, I'm always really critical of my stuff, and I honestly didn't think what I had was something that I want, that was, I guess, I don't know, that showed me. Like, I'm not really quite sure how to put words to that. So I was slightly glad when it got cancelled. And well, it's been a bit more than a year now, and within a year I was fortunate enough and I developed a lot of painting that I'm actually quite happy with, and I think that sort of like leads to a correct, like, right direction for me as an artist and what type of an artist that I want to be. Anyway, so that's my little story on the Santiago's crushing moment. Poor thing. Anyway, so he starts working there, and during that time he does a lot of amazing things. Like, you got this guy, like, he has a knack for marketing, sales. I'm really jealous of people like that. He really does. So within a month of being there, he comes up with an idea to the crystal merchant and goes, hey, what about, get this, we make a display outside with the crystals, people can actually come and have a look at things, at the crystals. And the crystal merchant's like, oh, I don't really want to do that, I'm not quite sure about that, because he's sort of like stuck on, like, comfortable the way he was working, which wasn't working. But crystal merchant ends up agreeing to making a display. Oh, I don't think I did that right. And then a few months, like 2 more months goes by. Oh wait, no, before that, you know, they talk about, dreams, like, crystal merchants like, so why did you wanna go to Egypt? And this time, I think Santiago has learned his lessons. He doesn't really say why he's going, like the whole treasure and whatnot. Like, before, when he met that dickhead who thieved him, he was just open about everything. Here's my wad of money, bam. Take my wad of money, bam. Like, I think he's aware that some personal information is important for him to keep for himself. I'm really proud of that. He says, oh no, he just wanted to see it. And then crystal merchant starts talking about the dream that he used to have. Like, he always wanted to make pilgrimage to the Mecca. Apparently that's they're like super fucking talented. The more I see it, it's just like, you know, there could be more where you could go and what you could do that you're not doing. And then it does. No, yeah, I think that's the reason why it gets me down. But, you know, there's also, I also believe in personal, that everyone has different paths, and everyone's path, like, you can't really compare yourself to other people. I think as soon as you get into that sort of mindset is where you will be feeling sorry for yourself. So in the end, Crystal Merchant still says, you know what, okay, you can do the whole tea in the crystal Shazam idea, which turns out to be super successful yet again. And Crystal Merchant ends up hiring 2 more employees just to manage his success. Which is amazing. So I think by this time, Santiago is sort of getting near to his end of his journey with the Crystal Merchant. He's thinking about things he's learnt, like, oh, he learnt a lot from his sheeps. Like, I think the reason he was able to do all that cool marketing thing is that he did learn sales from his sheep. Who knows, like maybe he, I don't know what he did when he was a shepherd, but I remember in the beginning like how he was one of those guys that managed to make friends really easy in pretty much every place he went, and like he knows how to sort of see the needs of people. That's a pretty amazing talent. And but yeah, so he's thinking about the things that he learned from his sheep, which was really cool and nice and all, but then he also thinks that, well, you know what, if he was still with his sheep, he wouldn't have learned Arabic. Which is true. And that's just really amazing way to look at things. What did I learn? I'm still studying German. German's really hard. I sort of took a rest for a bit last year because I wasn't well, but I've started again. And yeah, I guess with my experience, if I didn't leave Sydney, well, I wouldn't have become an artist, number one. And I wouldn't have traveled. Oh, that's one thing. When I was in Sydney, I honestly didn't think I was one of those people who enjoyed traveling. Maybe because I never really went to places that I liked. Like in Sydney, if you travel, places you go are Asia, and I'm from Asia. Like, it's nothing new to me, you know what I mean? And everyone's like, oh, we went to this place and that place and it's been amazing, and I went to this place and that place, and I was like, well, it's just like, what's like, for me it wasn't that much different. But Europe's amazing, like something that I'm not used to, all that cobblestones and whatnot. Like, I really love being here. What is going on? I don't think I'm doing this part right. So, well, that's as far as I've read so far for this time, and next bit is when he gets ready to leave. So, well, that's it for the book bit. And for me, I haven't really sort of figured out the plant yet. It's a bit difficult, I gotta say. Okay. When he says stuff like how he's learnt a lot from his shapes, and that's what he's used that knowledge to his new experiences. I think I mentioned in my last bit as well that, and this was something that was told by my friend, good friend, that, well, when things are hard, like I said, I still have those moments where I go into a bit of a bit of a down mood, and I thought, did I waste my time working as a regulatory affairs analyst, because whatever I got left, I got nothing. I mean, I don't use any of the work knowledge, and there's no recognition for me for having done such things. And she reminded me, this very wise friend of mine reminded me that if I didn't do that job, I would not be so responsible, I guess, in the way I work as an artist. Because I gotta say, it's really hard being your own boss. I mean, you got no one telling you what to do, when to do, and it's so easy to just, guess, like, not do it. But I guess from my old work, I've sort of developed, guess, like, responsibility and time management and project management, setting up goals. Yeah, that well, she made me really appreciate and see the things, you know, see things in different light. I'm still not quite happy with what's going on. Let's have a look. Other than that, I don't know. Guess it helped me in other aspects of my life. I'm very aware of my health. I know how to do good research. I know how to be a really good analyst. I guess if I didn't do all that, maybe I would not have been able to find an art gallery. So how I found this art gallery is that when I first started looking for galleries, I just, I don't know, Google typed galleries, and then I realized this gallery would never have me, you know, someone who didn't go to an artist and who was an accomplished artist at all. So I started looking for open calls. So there's actually a website I found out that has these open calls for emerging artists for like group shows and whatnot. And that's where I found the gallery. So I guess being an analyst sort of shows you a different way of approaching things when things don't work out. So that's a good thing. Okay, I'm gonna stop the video now because it's gonna take me a while to try to figure out this bit. But thank you for hanging around if you have, or if you're watching later on my Instagram. And I'll speak to you next time. Okay, I'm gonna keep going, but I'm gonna turn off the thing. Bye bye. Greg, that was really fucking terrible.
Yeah, it recorded and then it just...
I don't give a fuck, but it just... How long did it not record? I can't put that up there. That's fucking ruined. The whole, like... I can't redo that again.
Yeah, it literally just recorded the end of the lathe you're doing now.
I don't care, Greg. The whole storytelling, it's fucked.
very fucked up.